But more importantly, that viewership finally crossed over 1 million views without Caitlin Clark.
WNBA refs make $425 per game. NBA refs, they're pulling in $7,000. That's right, WNBA refs are earning peanuts compared to their NBA counterparts. Now, imagine you're a WNBA ref watching Caitlin Clark sign that massive Nike deal. You think that might ruffle some feathers? Let's talk about what this crazy pay gap could mean. You've got refs barely making enough to cover their gas money, and then you've got these superstar rookies coming in with million-dollar deals.
You know, when we always making videos talking about, you know what, they hating on Caitlin Clark because, you know, she got the Nike deal. It's looking like that could be fact.
That's gotta mess with your head when you're calling a game, right? Here's the big question. Is this money thing changing how games are called, especially for the new stars like Clark? You know what's even crazier? This whole ref situation might be just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more going on in the WNBA, and we're about to dive into all of it. Buckle up, because this is gonna be wild. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. You thought the ref pay gap was crazy? Wait till you hear about Caitlin Clark's whistle woes. It's like every time she steps on the court, the refs have their whistles ready. Coincidence? Or is there more to this story?
That the WNBA was headed in this direction before she got here. And I'm here to tell you, no, it wasn't. Y'all owe this 1 million views to Caitlin Clark.
Let's talk about Clark's transition to the WNBA. She came in hot, playing like she owned the court from day one. Fans were loving it, viewership was up, and it seemed like Clark was living the dream. But then things got weird. Imagine this. Clark's driving to the hoop, she goes up for a layup, and bam, whistle blows. Offensive foul. The crowd goes wild, and not in a good way. This wasn't a one-time thing either. Game after game, Clark found herself on the wrong end of some seriously questionable calls. One time, Clark was setting up for a three-pointer. She barely touched the defender, and suddenly it's a charge? Come on. The fans were losing it, and even the commentators were scratching their heads. But here's where it gets really interesting. These calls weren't just annoying Clark and her fans. They were starting to get attention from analysts and basketball experts.
Highest WNBA final numbers in 23 years. Caitlin Clark fans should be celebrating this.
People were asking questions. Why does it seem like Clark's getting singled out? Is this just how rookies get treated, or is something else going on? Some folks think it's just the WNBA being tough on new players, you know, testing their mental game. But others, they're not buying. They're saying there's a pattern here, and it's not looking good for the refs. Now, you'd think all these controversial calls would be bad for Clark and the league, right? Well, hold on to your jersey, because here's the twist. All this drama might actually be helping the WNBA. Think about it. Every time there's a crazy call against Clark, what happens? People talk about it. They post about it. They argue about it online. And guess what? They're watching the games to see what happens next. It's like the refs are accidentally creating the best publicity the WNBA could ask for. Clark's already a star, but now she's becoming an underdog too. And who doesn't love rooting for an underdog? So here's the $1 million question. Are these calls really biased against Clark? Or is this all part of some weird accidental marketing strategy? Either way, one thing's for sure. Caitlin Clark is keeping everyone on their toes, refs included. While refs and Clark battle it out on the court, something bigger is happening off it. WNBA viewership is skyrocketing, and it's not just because of the controversial calls. What if I told you this rookie's arrival is shaking up the entire league's ecosystem? Let's talk numbers. The Lynx Liberty game, it pulled in a whopping 1.1 million viewers. That's insane. But wait, there's more. WNBA Countdown viewership jumped up by 54% compared to last year. That's not just a little bump. That's a full-on explosion of interest. Jason Whitlock had some interesting things to say about this. He pointed out that these higher numbers could mean big things for WNBA players. More eyes on the game could lead to better pay and more recognition. It's like a domino effect. One thing leads to another, and suddenly the whole league is changing. But here's where it gets weird. You'd think everyone would be thrilled about more people watching, right? Wrong. Some fans, especially those who've been ride or die for other stars like Brianna Stewart, Stewie, aren't loving all the attention Clark's getting. They're saying things like, hey, what about our favorites? They've been here all along. It's like Clark walked into the WNBA and flipped a switch. Suddenly, everyone's talking about women's basketball, but that spotlight, it's not just shining on Clark, it's lighting up everything. The good, the bad, and yeah, even those questionable ref calls we talked about earlier. Speaking of refs, imagine how they're feeling right now. They're out there making $425 a game, and now they're center stage in games that millions of people are watching. That's a lot of pressure. And with all these new eyes on the league, every call they make is under a microscope. Here's something to think about. Could all this new attention actually be good for the refs in the long run? I mean, if the league keeps growing like this, maybe there'll be more money to go around. Better pay for players, better pay for refs. It could be a win-win. But for now, it's like the whole WNBA is riding this crazy roller coaster. Clark's at the front, fans are screaming, some with joy, some not so much, and the refs, they're just trying to hold on and call a fair game in the middle of all this chaos. You thought the drama was just on the court? Think again. There's a whole other game being played behind the scenes, and it's all about the people blowing the whistles. Let's break down what's really going on with WNBA referees. First off, let's talk money. WNBA refs are making around $180,000 a year. Sounds pretty good, right? Well, not when you compare it to NBA refs who are pulling in $250,000. And let's not even get started on Caitlin Clark's Nike deal. The pay gap is real, and it's causing some serious tension. Imagine you're a ref working your tail off for $425 per game. Then you see Clark step onto the court, knowing she's got millions in her bank account. How do you think that feels? It's like being the person who sets up the stage for a rock star. You're essential, but nobody's cheering for you. This pay difference isn't just about numbers. It's messing with refs' heads. When you're making decisions that could affect a game worth millions in viewership and sponsorships, but you're worried about paying your bills, it's going to affect your judgment. It's human nature. But it's not just about the money. Clark's unique playing style is throwing refs for a loop. She's doing things on the court that refs haven't seen before. At least not in the WNBA. It's like trying to referee a game of chess when someone suddenly starts playing 3D chess. Refs are having to make split-second decisions on plays they've never seen before. And here's where it gets really interesting. All these factors, the pay gap, the pressure, the new playing styles, they're creating a perfect storm. Refs are under more scrutiny than ever before. Every call they make is being analyzed, debated, and criticized by millions of viewers. Some people are saying, if I'm only making $425 per game and this lady right here is making $28 million to dribble a ball down the court, I'm jealous. Oh, I'm mad. Can you blame them? It's a tough situation all around. But here's the thing. This controversy might actually be good for the WNBA in the long run. It's forcing the league to take a hard look at how it treats its officials. If the WNBA wants to keep growing and attracting top talent, both on the court and with the whistle, something's got to change. All right, let's wrap this up. We've seen it all. The pay gap, those wild calls, viewership going through the roof, and refs caught in the middle. But here's the kicker. Caitlin Clark isn't just shaking up the court, she's changing the whole game. Amber Cox, the Indiana Fever president, is pumped for 2025. Why? Because Clark's not just playing ball, she's forcing the WNBA to face some hard truths. Pay, officiating, you name it. It's all on the table now. Clark's more than a rookie sensation. She's a wake-up call for the league. Every game, every call, every viewer. It's all pushing the WNBA to step up its game. And trust me, you'll want to see what happens next. This Clark kid, she's just getting started, and the WNBA might never be the same.